This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on sportstalksc.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It is Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday night. We continue on the Palmetto Pigskin Tour, and we are at wild and wonderful Newberry College in beautiful Newberry, South Carolina. Truly one of South Carolina's most beautiful towns. If you've never been to Newberry, you need to visit Newberry. Really nice shops, really nice restaurants. You can visit the Jimmy Coggins Museum, displaying all his trophies and awards from his Hall of Fame broadcasting day, and then come over to the college and enjoy things here, including the 2024 Newberry Wolves football season. Going to talk all about that with coach and players coming up a little bit after 7 o'clock. We'll have Coach Todd Knight with us, and the two players are a couple of low-country guys. Colby Taylor, defensive end, who prepped at Summerville, and James Middleton, who is a big offensive lineman, prepped at Fort Dorchester and transferred here from Southern Miss. So got a great show lined up for you. More on South Carolina Clemson camps. SC Wild night tonight as well. Major Downer's going to be with us. Going to talk about a little bit about what's going on with the storm and flooding and things you should and should not be doing. But the primary focus is going to be on deer tagging because we're getting into that time of year where that's big around the state of South Carolina. Welcome in Chris Bergen from the Berge Palace over in Sardis, and Josh Cohen back at our studios in Columbia. How you holding up down there? Everything's still, I know it's soggy, but are things starting to float away? What you got going on?
Actually, the last couple of hours is probably as bad of the run of the storm as we have seen here in Florence through this morning. I think we may have had 1.5 inches of rain. I think we probably had worse thunderstorms during a typical summer afternoon than what we had seen thus far. But you can tell the storm is approaching, and it's supposed to be right on top of us, I think, as it exits the state sometime tomorrow. So we're probably going to get the worst of it here the next 12 hours or so. But so far, so good. And I'm sure the two guys that we're going to be chatting with later on tonight are glad to be out of the low country because I still fear they may have run into a major flooding down in Charleston and along the Grand Strand.
Yeah, no question about it, especially that Charleston area. I hope everybody is hanging in and doing well. The good news is I think this thing is starting to move out. I know as you come west, I mean, I look here. We're in this beautiful new building that they have at Setzler Field. It's, if you're familiar with Newberry College, what used to be the visitor side now has a beautiful new coach's office building named after Founders Federal Credit, big contributors here at Newberry. And so we're inside this building. We're in Coach Todd Knight's office, actually. And as we look out the window, I mean, I'm sitting right at the 30-yard line.
Wow, nice.
Adjacent to the field. Yeah. So this is now the press box is still on the other side. They haven't gotten to that yet. They're going to address that at some point. But is this going to be the home side now? Will the home fans sit over here? Do we know? Still going to be on the other side where the press box is? Okay. But they got this beautiful new building for the coaches, something that they have been waiting on for a while. Of course, a few years ago they built a really nice facility in the end zone for their weight training and training room and all that kind of stuff. So they continue to add on and build things here at the Division II level at Newberry. If you were watching our Twitter earlier, I tweeted this out. For those of you watching the stream, I'll hold this up. This is the new logo, new helmet for Newberry for this coming season. You get a good look at it there. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I like that. I think it's sharp. I really do. I think they did a nice job with that.
Try to get that wolf in there as best. You can see the eyes. I can't. I'm trying to center it up there.
You need to go up.
Well, how's that?
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah. Maybe I should just put it on.
And back to your left.
my left, that away.
That is spot on.
Yeah. So you get a good look at that there. That's sharp. And they've got
What is the black and white pencil
with
drawing directly behind you?
That is, you mean up on the wall?
Yes.
Looks like that is of an Indian warrior of some type.
Yeah, I thought so. Going back to Newberry College's athletic heritage when they were still the Indians. And I can remember all the good days at Setzler Field, too, especially being a PC guy. You know, going to old school Setzler. This was long before they built the field house and now the facility that you're in. But going to a Setzler Field and for the PC Newberry Bronze Derby game and walking up through the stands, that was always fun with all the Newberry people there. So it's a wonderful old stadium. I'm glad they're starting to do some renovations, but I hope they're able to keep some of the old aesthetic touches that made that place so special.
I think so. Like the graveyard is still just outside the field there at the end of the end zone. You run through the end zone, you run into the graveyard. That's not going anywhere. And I've got at my disposal here, if you can see this, some of Coach Knight's championship rings. How about that one, huh? That's one of their rings from, let's see, this would have been the 9-2 season, and this would have been, I guess, just a couple of years ago. 9-2 for that one. Yeah, he's got a little collection of championship rings here on his desk. So I'm
Make sure they're still there when you leave.
I'm sure he took an accounting of everything in his office so that when I leave, you know, everything is accounted for. So, and I told him I was not taking any notes on any formations or any plays that they're drawing up. So, okay, we're happy to be here. Also, we're breaking in a brand new SID at Newberry, Brett Loftus, who is a native of Clinton, also Union, lived in Union, went to Clinton High School. You know him, Chris.
Yes. At first, I did not realize he'd gotten the job at Newberry. That's great. I'm be curious to see how much hazing he'll get, being a Clintonite, having to deal with Newberry. You know, even if the college rivalry is gone, that's still a pretty good high school rivalry up there between those two schools when they get a chance to play. Absolutely.
And also, they have Sean Johnson as their director of athletics. Sean is this is first year, I'm thinking second year as director of athletics here at Newberry. And we appreciate him coming over and saying hi and hope to talk to him at some point in time. So good to be here at Newberry. We continue on the Palmetto Pigskin Tour. We've been to South Carolina State. We've been to Presbyterian. Newberry tonight, up to Furman tomorrow night, and that'll be it for this week. Week number 1 will be behind us. Okay, today, more from South Carolina and Clemson. We met with, at South Carolina, had defensive players come in and talk to us today, a whole bunch of them. And one thing that kind of stood out to me was listening to Mo Kaba. And what a terrific story he is, guys. I mean, this is a guy coming off of, 3 knee injuries, I believe, at South Carolina. Just cannot stay healthy. Or maybe he even had one in high school, and maybe he's had 2 at South Carolina. He's had that's unfortunate. You know, it just seems like certain guys run into that injury bug and they can't shake it through no fault of their own. It's not their fault that they get hurt. You know, they try to do everything the right way. But unfortunately for him, he's had a couple of knees, but he's still getting after it. And he said there was no way he was not going to continue with his college career at South Carolina. He's on the 7-year plan, he said. He's got 3 more years of eligibility, counting this year. So if he wanted to go through grad school, go get his master's, he could be in there until he was, for 7 years, until he's like 30 years old or something. Who knows? But he says he's healthy or getting healthy and is able to do things and participate and compete. And so a healthy Mo Kaba would certainly be a bonus for South Carolina on that defensive side. We're going to hear from Clayton White tonight, the Gamecock feature tonight, the Gamecocks defensive coordinator. And Chris, he said in my conversation with him, this is the most talent in his what will be his 4th year. This is the most talent he's had to work with. You know, they went out, did a good job recruiting in high school, and they added to that through the transfer portal, took about 6 or 7 defensive players from the transfer portal, specific areas like defensive end and linebacker in particular, 1 safety. So that's a good that's a good group to bring in to supplement what they had coming back, which was a pretty good group coming back, a bunch of veterans too. So I've said this from, back in the spring and through the summer and now here. On paper, this looks like a pretty good South Carolina defensive team, a team that gave up 26 points per game last season, about 400 yards. I mean, I think their goal should be to chop that 26 down to about 17. You can chop that down to about 16 or 17 and then chop that yardage down from 400 to about, 275. You'll have a pretty good defense. That'll help you win a lot of ball games.
Pass rush, I think, is going to be key to that, Phil, because they did not have much of a pass rush last season. They should this year because I think they're better up front. I would agree with you. Their front seven, especially if Kava's healthy. And also, you saw today that Bam Martin-Scott evidently told you guys he's dealing with a hamstring injury right now, expects to be full speed, but you never know with those things. So if they can stay healthy at that linebacking position, maybe the strongest units on the team, not just defense. Don't you think perhaps it's maybe the strongest unit across the board for them?
I think you might be right. When you talk about the offense, there's always the question about the quarterback because the quarterback is new until you see what you've got there from a Norris Sellers or somebody else and you see how they operate. You have to still have a question mark there, some question mark at wide receiver because of so many new players. And always with South Carolina, there's question marks about the offensive line until they prove that they're a good unit. Yeah, I'd say the defense with so many returning players, and they've added guys who were not playing a lot primarily at Power 4 schools, but, I mean, they took a player from Alabama, and they took a player from Oklahoma. They got a couple from Pittsburgh. They've got one who played at Georgia Tech before going to Charlotte. So they're bringing in guys who have got, at least in their background, high major Power 4 experience. Now, a couple of those guys didn't play much. Goodwine didn't play much at, he was at Alabama, and the linebacker who was at Georgia Tech went to Charlotte. It's coming in. He played a lot, and I think he's going to have an immediate impact on them. Defensive tackle from Pitt, I think will have an immediate impact because of his size, and he played a good bit for Pittsburgh. So they got some guys coming in with experience who should jump right in there and boost that defense right away. I don't think there's any question about that.
I think two stats to keep an eye on as the season moves along for South Carolina's defense. Third down defense, get off the field. They were allowing 43% last year. And, Phil, you're just not going to win enough ball games if you cannot get pressure on the quarterback. And they had 20 fewer sacks than they gave up last year. And that just can't happen. That's got to turn around. It's got to you've got to have a positive there. You've got to have more sacks than you allow. Now, obviously, the offensive line had its struggles, but still the defense just was unable to put any pressure on the quarterback. And there are too many good QBs that they'll see in the SEC, in non-conference action. I mean, they've got to find a way to get a pass rush, and I think they will. I think those guys up front are going to be much improved, and I would expect both of those statistical anomalies from last year to improve considerably.
All right, and from Clemson tonight, we're going to hear from Phil Maffa. We're going to bring you Phil Maffa last night, but Dabo Sweeney intruded on that, so we'll hear from the Clemson running back tonight. Our poll question of the week, presented by Larry Lucas State Farm Insurance in Columbia. His number 803-799-1998 is about Clemson and the difficulty of the Tigers' first 5 games to open the season: Georgia, App State, NC State, Stanford, and Florida State. And what record do you expect the Tigers to have coming out of those 5 games? 377 votes in through this afternoon. And the majority is pointing to a 3-2 record coming out of the first 5, 48.8%. 27.1% say the Tigers will be 4-1. 17.2% have them coming out at 2-3, and 6.9% point to a 5-0. If they go 5-0, those 6.9% should run to Vegas and put their money down on a playoff spot for the Tigers. And you'll have a chance to they go 5-0, they got a chance to win the whole thing. Because if you go 5-0 against that group with those wins, that tells you something about this team if they can pull that off.
Yeah, and imagine just getting, and it's got to start with that Georgia game. If they find a way to get a win against Georgia, and how much confidence that would boost them into. You don't anticipate them to overlook Appalachian. That's just not really the way Dabo coaches that team. But coming off the Georgia game, they should have the extreme amount of confidence, and I think they would play well and beat Appalachian. And then you start looking, you figure Stanford in there, the NC State game. I still think that NC State game is going to be an interesting one to see just because I don't think we know how good State can be. They weren't projected as high as I thought they might have been in the preseason ACC poll. I'm wondering if people are still unsure about Grayson McCall and his health and moving up from Coastal to play there. I think Grayson's going to surprise some people in the ACC. I think he's that good of a quarterback, but I may be a little biased having watched him play in Conway for so many years. But I think the NC State game may be the linchpin to all of this. If they get some early momentum, you want to keep it going by beating State.
You know, what's kind of sad is that Grayson has never played a college football game where you were not standing on his sideline. Huh?
That's very true.
I mean, come on.
And the funny thing was, if he's back this year at Coastal, this would be his first year. Either way, it was going to be the first year I would not be on his sideline.
Yeah, but at
I'd
least
be above his sideline.
You'd be up in the booth, You'd be up in the booth, which was
right.
You'd still be looking over him. I think he's going to be great in this offense at NC State. He's got a big-time receiver to throw to, one of the top receivers in the country. Speaking of that, the watch list for the Biletnikoff Award came out today. Did not have anybody from Clemson or South Carolina or anywhere in the state, for that matter, on the list this time around. So the state
I'm not really
is shut
surprised
out from that
about
standpoint.
that. Are you?
Not considering who is not back
right.
at both places. And, both places are having to develop some young and up-and-coming wide receivers. So the thing is, these watch lists, if you keep up with that kind of stuff, they do update around mid-season, and they take a look at some unknowns, some people who weren't on their list who've had a great first half of the season, and they will add them to the watch list. So, listen, it doesn't, you go out and have a great year, and you maybe set records and set the world on fire, you'll win your share of awards, whether you're on the watch list to start the season or not. But just point that out to tell you that, South Carolina and Clemson, in terms of the national viewpoint, are kind of devoid of big-name receivers at this point. So it's incumbent upon them to go and develop receivers. And Clemson feels, they feel good about Antonio Williams. They feel good about him coming back. They feel good about Tyler Brown. They love these two new freshman receivers, T.J. Moore and Bryant Wesco. Now, Wesco was the one who was in early, so he's a little bit ahead, but they love Moore's talent and his promise of being an excellent receiver. But Clemson right now, unless one of those freshmen steps up or, like Antonio Williams, really plays at a high level, they don't have that receiver that made them so dangerous for so many years. In fact, the last couple of years, they've kind of dropped off in that area. A couple of guys they thought were going to emerge and be that kind of receiver. They did not, for whatever reason, injuries or something else, like a Frank Latson, let's say, or a Joe, no longer with the program. They need to boost their receiving production and their big play potential at wide receiver. That's been missing from their offense.
It's funny, that position has almost gone through the same sort of rework that quarterback has. Clemson had the two generational quarterbacks in Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. Well, wide receiver, almost the same thing. I mean, Sammy Watkins and DeAndre Hopkins don't just walk through your locker room all that often. And when you get that kind of talent, it's hard to replace those guys sometimes. But you're right. I think Clemson's got a good wide receiving core. They're real high on Wesco. Everything I've heard them say back in the spring and certainly through preseason camp, they seem like he's going to be a breakout type guy. But, again, probably the reason none of those guys is on those watch lists is because we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Okay, our phone number here on Sports Talk, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you to join us. If you want to jump on board with a comment or a question or an observation, we'll have the folks from Newberry with us a little bit later on. We'll have SC Wild at 7:30. Going to hear from Clayton White from South Carolina and Phil Maffa from Clemson. How about today at the Olympics? Former Gamecock Quincy Hall wins the gold in the 400 meters. And says here, I'm reading a recap from CBS Sports, that Hall, as they write it, pulled off one of the most stunning rallies of the games, passing the last three competitors in front of him on the straightaway to win the gold, a personal best of 43.40, the fifth fastest time ever in that event. And they're talking about his kick. Obviously, he had a great kick coming down the home stretch there, but congratulations to all involved with that. That's quite an honor for any school when you get an individual to bring home the gold for you. That's one for South Carolina. They most likely will get a second gold medal from a former Gamecock in Aja Wilson when the women wrap up the basketball competition. So that'd be two gold medal winners for South Carolina at this stage.
You know, I was watching the 100-meter men's final, a terrific race. If you haven't seen it, you need to go back and watch it, especially photo finish.
Yeah.
I mean, Noah Lyles able to pull it out, and they flashed up his time, and then they flashed up what Usain Bolt ran when he won the 100 meters. And it was like 0.2 of a second faster than what Noah Lyles blistered down the 100 meters. And I was thinking, that might as well be 2 miles. I mean, how far, it goes to show you, talking about generational athletes, you get those rare glimpses of people, Michael Phelps, Simone Biles, Usain Bolt. You better enjoy them while they are around, because we won't see them ever again. I mean, what Usain Bolt was able to do on the track is just ridiculous, how good he was. And you forget until you see the fastest man in the world could barely see the back of his jersey when he was running against Bolt, because he was so much faster than everybody else.
Yeah, you love those types. And also the persona that they give out, because they know they're great and they carry their greatness well, and they just exude confidence. Those rare great athletes like a Michael Jordan, for example, he didn't have to say a word, but you knew what he was all about. And the same thing with these stars that, and the thing about the track and field guys, this is why I used to love the Olympics. I don't love them as much as I used to, but I used to love the Olympics because it was that one time every 4 years where you saw athletes that you ordinarily didn't see. You didn't see track and field guys. You didn't see swimming and diving folks. You didn't see a whole lot
Carl
of
Lewis.
Yeah, exactly. And this was their moment to shine, not to steal something from CBS, one shining moment, but this was their moment to shine. And they put 4 years of work into that one moment. That's why when somebody, you felt awful for the athlete who's at the start line and say they defaulted and they were disqualified and never got a chance to compete. That happens, 4 years of work just down the drain because of, a bad start or whatever. And you really appreciated what those folks were able to do. I used to love when the U.S. basketball team, made up of collegians.
Hey, Phil, you there? I think we lost Phil, Chris.
Oh, we may have lost Phil, but his point was going to be, and I think his point was, you talk about the way the amateur model used to be, and it's changed so much. And part of the reason we went, especially from the United States perspective, with regards to men's basketball, is we didn't win the gold medal right before the Dream Team was instituted, and our country's got too much pride in basketball in particular. We're not going to allow that to happen. And I want to hear, and I've heard this discussion trying to bubble up on the circuit. Stop it now. This team that's on the floor right now should win the gold medal. They're the best team out there. There's no doubt. But this team, I don't think, would stay within 15 or 20 points of the Dream Team in their prime. So let's just end that now. Let's just stop that discussion, because I don't think it's accurate, and we'll never get to see it. But that group of players in their prime were as good as any collection of basketball talent we've ever had. I mean, they're all Hall of Famers. I mean, it was insane how good they were. And they would blister this year's installment. That doesn't take away from what LeBron James and KD and Seth Curry and all those guys are doing, because they should go out and win the gold medal. But let's stop the discussion about whether or not this team could beat the Dream Team. I'll answer that for you, Phil. No.
Absolutely not. No, not even not even close. All right, going to hit the break here at the bottom of this first hour.
Lost him
Like
again.
Phil said, bottom of the first hour. We're going to take a break on Sports Talk. We'll come back, get into some Clemson and the Gamecocks here on Sports Talk.
We are back with you on Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. And we've continued on the Palmetto Pigskin Tour with our stop tonight at Newberry. Coach Knight will be with us after the top of the hour. A couple of players will be with us as well. I have Colby Taylor with us and James Middleton. We're coming to you from the Founders Federal Credit Union Fieldhouse, the official name here at Newberry College. And the AD, Sean Johnson, has joined us inside Coach Todd Knight's office.
I know. I feel privileged to be sitting in the head coach's office, the winningest coach in the history of Newberry College.
But you're not sitting in the head coach's chair.
No, you are.
That's right.
So, I'm not sure I'm quite qualified to sit in Todd's
Well,
chair.
neither am I.
Yeah.
Neither am I.
But we really appreciate you being here, and very thankful, and just appreciate what you do for football in South Carolina.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
We're just glad that you're here today.
How important is a building like this to what you guys are building?
Yeah, really important. This building is almost a year old, and it's not just a football building. It also houses our outstanding field hockey team and both our outstanding lacrosse teams, men's and women's lacrosse. All those teams nationally ranked last year. So upstairs we have the offices like Coach Knight's office that we're in here now, as well as those coaches' offices. And the administrative staff is up here, and then down underneath are the locker rooms for those four sports, and really, really nice locker rooms. And we're very grateful to everybody that donated to the project, and especially Founders Federal Credit Union and Mr. Brumfield and all those great folks that do great things for everybody across the state, but certainly make a big impact here in Newberry College.
Let's give a shout out to Founders because they really are everywhere. I guess they pretty much kind of started as a smaller operation up in the Lancaster, Rock Hill area, and they really spread their wings across the state. And you mentioned Bruce Brumfield. I mean, he is a guy that loves his sports. He loves the sports here in the state of South Carolina, loves his sports programs, like shows, and he loves the athletic teams across the state.
He does, and I think, not just Bruce, but all the staff, everybody that you meet, they just want to be invested in your community. And we actually gave Bruce an honorary doctorate this past spring, and he was so grateful. But we were just grateful to him because, as I mentioned, they have a branch here on campus. They help with financial literacy with our students. They have a branch here in town. I mean, I think the thing that I just love about Founders is the impact they make, not just, obviously on Newberry College and Newberry College athletics, but the impact they make in our community, which is so important.
So what else is on the drawing board at this point?
Well, in the south end zone, we have the Melvin and Dolly Younts Athletic Performance Center, which we built 4 or 5 years ago. And, and again, there's another great family, the Younts family, who's made such an impact across the state, but made a huge impact on us, built brand new weight room athletic training facility that we use, obviously, every single day. And really the last piece of the puzzle to Setzler Field is the West Side Grandstand, where most of our fans sit. Those bleachers have been there, I'm going to say, an awfully long time. I think that'd be the understatement of the half century.
Yep.
And, our goal is to eventually, hopefully in the next couple of years, we want to tear those down, rebuild it, build a new press box. And when we built Founders Federal Credit Union Fieldhouse, we also rebuilt the bleacher seating here on the east side. So really it's a much nicer place to watch the game from. We have 3 suites in this building that we rent out, and fans can rent those out and watch games, and it's a great place to do things. We're a small college, but we like to do things in a big way if we can. And I think we're getting fairly close to hopefully reaching our goal where we can start that next project. And again, it doesn't just impact the football program. Both our lacrosse teams play here in field hockey, and it's just a great gathering place for our community. And that's a great thing about being in Newberry. We're a big fish in a small pond, and people love what we do, and we love how our community supports us. Absolutely.
And across the board with your athletic program, too. I think about what you've been doing in baseball, and you had a turnover, of course, in your baseball head coaching position, but you promoted from within, and so I guess you imagine that transition was going to be pretty smooth and just kind of keep the ball rolling with what Coach Triplett was able to build here.
Yeah, absolutely. We hated to lose Coach Triplett, but we also feel blessed that we had him as long as we did. And obviously, he's really a legend in this state, from the Columbia area. Of course, his dad was a very successful coach, and then played on some great Clemson baseball teams, and really got our baseball program back to where it needed to be, and did a terrific job. And I think him going to the Citadel, that's a perfect fit for Russell. It really is in so many ways. Keeps him in the state, which I think is really important to him. And I think how the Citadel does things is the way Russell likes to do things. But what we were really fortunate to do is we were able to promote Jay Snyder, our associate head coach, who had been here a year longer than Russell. So when Russell took the job, he kept Jay. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a great move, and Jay just does a terrific job. So we're expecting to be really a seamless transition, and talking to our student athletes, as we always do before we make a decision like that. They were so on board. In fact, Zach Kelly, who pitches for the Boston Red Sox, who's a Newberry College alum, he sent me a text right after this all went down. The only thing he did is he sent me a picture of Jay, as is to tell me this is our guy.
This is it.
And he was right.
Yeah.
And Zach's a great former player here, and we're just so excited that he's getting his chance to compete in the big leagues with the Red Sox. And it was kind of cool just to get that text from him. He just had a picture of Jay, and I'm like, Zach, you and I are thinking the same thing. So we're really excited to have Jay, stay on our staff. This is his 15th year, and he's just going to take that Russell Triplett legacy and just build on it.
Absolutely. So, so much transition taking place at the highest level with everything that's gone on with college sports. I don't have to sit here and recite everything. I wonder, from where you sit at the D2 level, do you have some of the same headaches that your D1 counterparts might have? Do you really have to worry about NIL at this level? Do you really have to worry that much about the transfer portal? I know you've had some come and go out of here, but is it as big an issue with you guys as it is for the bigger schools? It's
certainly not as front burner of an issue as it is, at South Carolina or Clemson or any of the other Division I schools. But we've been impacted a little bit. I think, the most obvious example is Mario Anderson, who left here and went to USC, and then now he's at Memphis. Mm-hmm. And good for Mario. We're happy for him, and he did great things here, and he continues to do great things. And I'm all about student athletes having the ability to really control their own destiny. And I certainly support that. The transfer portal, I think, is a good thing. I think people will look at it as a negative thing. I don't think that's true, especially for student athletes at our level. Mm-hmm. If somebody decided to transfer, it was really up to them to kind of get the word out that, hey, I'm looking for a place to go. And now with the transfer portal, people can see that and know that, hey, they want to go to a different place and get a different opportunity. It's tough on coaches, there's no question. But the interesting thing that we found out at the Division II level is now that a lot of Division I schools are not recruiting the high school student athletes as heavily as they used to, because they're so invested in the transfer portal. And I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it. So I think it really helps us in the sense that, we can – and Coach Knight and all of our coaches do a great job of recruiting the state of South Carolina. But I think it even helps us even more, because I think there really are some high school kids that get overlooked now.
Sure.
Because the bigger schools are so focused on, hey, I need to be old and stay old. And we need to do that a little bit too. Coach Knight certainly dipped in the transfer portal a little bit at some key positions, but certainly not some of the wholesale changes like you'll see at other schools and the roster turnover. We don't face that quite as heavily. But it's definitely impacted us. NIL, we're looking at some opportunities right now to help our student athletes. Now, it's not going to be at the level that, student athletes at Division I level are at. But, if they get a little bit of money that helps them buy something or a couple extra meals, good for them.
Sure.
If we're able to help with that, we want to be able to do that.
Now, with the move at the Division I level to go to 120 scholarships in football on those rosters and capping it there, but 120 scholarships – compared to the 85 and then your walk-ons, but now you can have 120, and I guess you can give 120 scholarships if that's what you decide to do.
Right.
Does that impact you guys?
I mean, it could, but I think not every school. I mean, certainly every Power 5 school is going to be able to do things like that. But I worked FCS football before. I worked at the University of Idaho. I worked at the University of North Dakota. Not everybody can afford that, and not everybody can do that. So certainly the big boys are going to be able to do what they're capable of doing, but that doesn't mean everybody can do it. It's great to say you have this rule and you have the ability to do it, but can you actually afford that? Can Furman afford to do that? Does Wofford? I don't know the answer to that, right? So, and their rules are probably a little bit different than the FBS schools, but I think there could be some trickle-down effect, but again, I think we're right where we want to be. We love Division II. We love being in the South Atlantic Conference, and we love recruiting South Carolina kids. And we're just so fortunate to be in a state where there are a lot of great student-athletes that we can recruit from. I lived in North Dakota for 11 years, and there's just not a lot of folks that live there. So we really had to go far afield to find our student-athletes, and we don't have to do that here. That's the beauty about living in this state. So there could be some trickle-down effect, but I don't think it's really going to impact us as much as it maybe will at the FCS level.
Yeah. Well, one last thing, we'll let you go, talking to Sean Johnson, the AD at Newberry. So you have history with South Carolina.
Yeah, one game. So I was a sports information director many years ago at New Mexico State, and we came down for the season opener of Lou Holtz's second year, and we had a pretty good football team for our level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were playing quote unquote FBS football, but certainly not at the level of an SEC team. And I was just blown away by the fact that, you know, South Carolina hadn't won a game the year before, and they just weren't very good.
They were 0-21.
Yeah, they lost, and we come into Columbia, and the place is packed, and it's rocking. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, going, "Holy man, this fan base is incredible." And I just want to say, listen, I don't have a dog in the fight when it comes to South Carolina and Clemson, so don't take me there.
Yeah.
But it just blew me away how dedicated the fan base was, how loud they were. We were just talking. Kerry Tharp was the sports information director at the time at USC. And I remember being in the press box, and it's moving back and forth, and I'm kind of going, what's going on here? People are going, it's okay, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And it was a very close game, and South Carolina won, and you and I were talking about off the air, you know, they tore down the goalposts. But it was – and I've been fortunate because when you work at places like New Mexico State, North Texas, and North Dakota, you're going to play those money games. Mm-hmm. So I've been to A&M, I've been to LSU, I've been to Georgia, I've been some places. But South Carolina, the atmosphere and their fans, it's definitely in my top 5. I mean, I was just so impressed with the fan base and the passion and the loyalty, again, for a football team at the time that obviously was not very good and had lost, 20-21 in a row. And it just kind of blew me away.
Yeah. Well, on behalf of Gamecock fans and Lou Holtz, they want me to thank you for bringing New Mexico State in so they could beat somebody and get that off their back. They actually went on to have a very good year.
Yeah,
they went to back-to-back back-to-back Outback Bowls. Yeah.
And we gave them a good game.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say it was a 3 or 4 point game. Buck Pierce was our quarterback, who's a good friend of mine. He's offense coordinator for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and won a few Grey Cups. And so it was a heck of a game and a great experience. We loved it.
Well, thanks for having us here.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us in this beautiful building.
Yeah,
I've been meaning to get over here. I'm glad I got a chance to be in here, and we'll see you soon and have a great football season.
Appreciate it. Thanks for all you do for us.
Thank you. Sean Johnson, AD here at Newberry, and we thank him for coming over and visiting with us. We're going to hit the break, and we'll come back with more. In just a moment, we'll hear from USC defensive coordinator Clayton White, and we will also hear from Clemson running back Phil Maffa. Going to get both of those in. Going to squeeze them in. Going to squeeze them in before the top of the hour.
It's so refreshing to hear an AD, and he was really, really good, but an AD in a T-shirt and ball cap. That's awesome. That was really cool by Paul.
He did go home and change. Yeah. He was in his normal attire, but he came back to fit the sports talk scene. Be back in a moment.
Deep in the heart of racing country lies a track too tough to tame. The perfect setting for the late-season drama of the Southern 500.
Outside lane gets the launch.
One last chance to make a playoff push. One last chance to catch regular season racing.
All clear.
One last chance to plan a Labor Day weekend worth bragging about.
Southern 500, baby. Hell yeah.
NASCAR weekend at Darlington Raceway, August 31st and September 1st. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com.
This is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is here, and as you get ready to go out on the water this spring and summer, make sure you have all the required safety equipment on board. Check for a sound device. A horn or whistle will suffice for most boats. Inspect all of your life jackets. Make sure they're in good condition and are the correct size for all of your passengers. If your boat is over 16 feet, you will need to make sure you have an approved throwable device on board as well. Remember, boating safety is no accident.
Relax this summer with a promotional rate on select travel purchases with your Founders Federal Credit Union credit card. Now through August 31st, get 6.99% APR for 6 months on qualifying purchases, including airfare, hotels, restaurants, and cruise lines. Don't let interest rates slow you down this summer. Visit foundersfcu.com/travel to learn more. Not a Founders member yet? Founders has the financial tools you need and the personalized service you deserve. Stop by an office or visit foundersfcu.com to learn more about Founders and see if you qualify for membership. On March 1st, 2025, the promotional APR will revert to the effective APR as previously disclosed. Call 800-845-1644 for details about credit costs and terms. Membership qualification required.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's CORBETT. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources on the Sports Talk Media Network.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as sports drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has introduced a new rolling jackpot, and it's big.
How big? Bigger than a striped bass? Reel 'em in.
Way bigger.
Bigger than this world-class golf course? Or
bigger than that.
Even bigger than the Gaffney Peach?
Let's just say with this new rolling jackpot, Palmetto Cash 5 is officially too big to ignore. Palmetto Cash 5 draws nightly, so play today and check if your numbers are winners in the Players Club app or at seeducationlottery.com.
Overall odds of 1 in 10. Top prize odds of 1 in 850,668.
But God might have a different mapped out plan for you mapped out. So what if you don't?
All right, back we are here at Newberry on the Palmetto Pigskin Tour. Let's turn our attention to South Carolina and Clemson and hear from them, our camp updates from today. And we begin with the Gamecocks defensive coordinator, Clayton White. Had a chance to talk with him last week at the Gamecocks Media Day. How do you feel about this group overall? I mean, it seems like the talk about the defense is it can be really, really good. What do you think?
I feel great about the defense in regards of us having the pieces to the puzzle. All right, so I feel like we're prime and ready to go out and really kind of showcase what we can do, and our guys are hungry, and they have the look in their eyes like, okay, Coach, we're ready. And I think the most important thing is that our guys know we have depth and size and length and speed, is that we all got to play together and play as one, and the chips are going to fall where they're supposed to. You know, I'm going to do the absolute best that I can do to make sure they're in the right position to make plays.
Well, you look at it right up the middle defensive line and linebackers and safeties. I mean, among the best in the SEC, would you say?
I really haven't had a chance to evaluate the other teams. So SEC is pretty loaded. But I will say I'll put my guys up against anybody's guys and see what's up. But I don't want to be the rated. I can't rate other. I haven't spent that kind of time studying other. I study their tape. I've seen some good defenses out there, but I do like our guys. I will put our guys up against anybody without a doubt, and whatever happens. But feel great about our guys. Definitely, those are the ones that we want in our corner for sure.
The experience that you have on defense, will that allow you to do some things maybe that you haven't done the last couple of years?
It allows us to be even more comfortable not comfortable, but allows us to be able to dig a little deeper into our pocket, into our playbook, and make quicker adjustments, and also, just change things up because they understand the game. They understand that we're going against top-notch coordinators, top-notch players. You can't show them the same thing unless you're completely way more dominant than them, or you're up by 50 points every single game. And I mean, you feel me? So our guys it is nice having a veteran group so we can adjust and do some things.
When you look at some of the newcomers, freshmen, transfers, I know Dylan Stewart's gotten a lot of attention, a lot of off-season talk about him, so obviously he's one that has stood out. Besides him, who else has caught your eye?
We have quite a few, man. Kyle Kennard, it's nice to have Gilbert back. DeAndre Drews is giving us a big muscle inside. He's a big body. He's about the size of Zach Pickens. You know, I mean, he's 6'3.5", 6'4", 300 pounds. He's also at linebacker. Man, we have Bengali Kamara. We have Demetrius Knight, who both of those guys are phenomenal athletes, phenomenal linebackers, phenomenal people. We bought, obviously, Kilgore's brother. So, and the freshman, I mean, that we hit. So we hit. I'm excited.
You feel like top to bottom, not to take away from any of the three previous defenses, but this is your most talented defensive roster?
Absolutely, for sure. I thought the first year was kind of funny. Like, you know, you come in here and I didn't think, you're coming off 2 wins, and I was kind of surprised what was in the room. Some good players in there. So they were older, but they were some good players, so we had to get them all to play together. They was coming off a transition. But I definitely 100%, this is the most talent we have. Let me stop. Yes, this it is.
South Carolina defensive coordinator Clayton White. Now, meantime, on the other side of the coin, a guy who is ultimately going to have to run against that USC defense is Clemson running back Phil Mafah. He met with the media earlier this week as well to talk about the competition between the offense and defense thus far.
You know, sparks are always flying. We get each other better, you know, every single day. And, you know, going against a defense like that, you know, they get us better. And it's been great, though. It's the first day we've had pads, so actual contact. So this is really the first dose of, like, real football. So it was a good day, though, overall.
What changes when you move to full pads, you know, on the practice field?
Really just the physicality. When we have shells on, not shells, but when we don't have pads on, you know, it's really just catch and tag off. But when we have pads on, you know, we wrap up. We don't bring each other to the ground, but we get more of a football feel and a football look. So it's just a bit more realistic.
Coach Sweeney mentioned that earlier in the season you could exceed 15 carries a game. For you, is that kind of what you are ideally seeking when you're entering the season, or is that kind of like you want, I guess, a balanced approach with the other running backs kind of getting involved for you?
Yeah, I mean, anyone that gets in there, I'm sure can do the job, but you know, I'm willing to take as many carries as, you know, they want me to, you know, as long as my team wins. That's all I really care about. But you'll definitely see other backs in there getting work in because the standard is a standard, and we could throw anyone out there and they'll be good.
How has the other running backs looked? I know there's Coach Lee was saying it's you, then like the rest, I guess. For that number 2 spot, how have the other running backs have been looking so far?
They've been looking really good. I mean, they've been progressing really well. They haven't had much game experience up to this point, but, you know, practice going against a defense like we go against, you know, has gotten all of us better. And, you know, I feel like the future's bright for the running back room, and there's definitely guys in there that are getting better, and I believe will make an impact this year.
Okay, comments of Clemson running back Phil Mafah, who kind of waited his time, splitting time there with Will Shipley. I don't know. You think maybe there was at times inside that running back room or even on the sideline a bit of chafing going on with Shipley and Mafah? We saw earlier when Kobe Pace was there, and he thought he deserved more carries, and, of course, he opted out, went to Virginia. What do you think between those two guys, just based on the body language that we saw?
I mean, they seem to split everything pretty well, but, you know, just watching it from the outside, and this is not a new comment from me, I always thought Mafah was the better running back. Now, in terms of, you know, all-around back, there's no question Shipley was better because they utilized him in the passing game a little bit more, but I thought they underutilized Phil Mafah, so I'll be fascinated to see if he gets, as Mafah was asked, will he get 15 to 20 carries a game? I think he should. I think he should carry 20, 25 times a game. You've got other guys you've got to keep happy, but if you want to win ball games, Mafah's your bell count, and I think they need to lean on him.
You know, he might have had one of the quietest 965 rushing yard seasons with 13 touchdowns and 21 catches for another 108 yards, so over 1,000 yards, 1,073 yards from scrimmage and 13 touchdowns. He might have had one of the quietest big seasons of anybody in the country.
Yeah, nobody ever talked about him. I mean, we did because we covered them considerably. But, I mean, just look what he did to Kentucky. They don't beat Kentucky without Phil Maffa.
Oh, 4 touchdowns. Take those off the board. Okay, we'll hit the top of the hour. Little dose of recruiting and Newberry coming up.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
We are back. It's hour number 2 of Sports Talk on this Wednesday night. We got a lot to do, a lot to cram in here in the second hour. SC Wild with Major Billy Downer coming up at the bottom of the hour. We're at Newberry. In just a moment, Coach Todd Knight will join us. Want to give you a quick recruiting report for tonight. It is brought to you by the great folks over at Seawells. I know Coach Knight knows Seawells very well over in Columbia. He's probably had many a lunch over there.
Many times. It is awesome.
Well, I suggest you take in the daily luncheon buffet.
I'll have to wait till camp's over with before I can catch that.
It's only $14.50.
Great deal.
But it's really good. What we got tomorrow, Josh?
Tomorrow is sliced beef brisket, teriyaki, and lemon pepper chicken wings, and fried pork chops. And then Friday is the hamburger, steak, and onions, southern fried chicken, and grilled salmon with creamy lemon dill sauce.
Oh, can't beat it. Of course, they were closed today for a private event. Their phone number, if you need to reach them for catering business, 803-771-7385. Just a couple of quick notes. Clemson and South Carolina in on offensive tackle Darius Gray out of Richmond, Virginia. This is in the 26th class. He's 6'4", 280. He camped at both places over the last couple of years. He's visited both places as well. In to see Clemson in March, in to see South Carolina in April. Also visited Maryland and Michigan in April, camped at Tennessee, and he was at Florida State the end of July. So they kind of got the last shot at him this particular round. A lot of major offers for him as well besides those schools, Ohio State, Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma, Michigan. He'll be one to watch. USC and Clemson basketball made the Final 7 with 6'8", Zamika Wilkins of Arden, North Carolina. He'll take officials to both. South Carolina, September 17th. Clemson 2 weeks later. His other officials will be NC State, Dayton, Villanova, Georgetown, and Georgia. USC baseball team lost a 2025 commitment. Peter Mershon has reopened his recruiting. There you go with the recruiting notes tonight, brought to you by Seawells. All right, our pleasure now to welcome in a man who's been on the program many, many, many times over the years, Coach Todd Knight here at Newberry College. And welcome in, sir, and welcome to camp because you had your first practice today.
Yeah, just so excited to be in camp, Phil. You know, I'm just like every other football coach in the country. It's almost like the beginning of camp's like Christmas for us. You know, it's a big day for the coaching staff, big day for the kids, and just glad to be back in the swing of it, man.
And a chance to bounce back from last year. I know it was a disappointing season for you last year.
It really was. You know, we've gotten used to winning games and a certain standard around here. And we did have a down year for us. And I think that's a major point of emphasis going through spring, that this is going to be the group to turn it and get it back to where we want to be. And, you know, I know it's day one, but everybody's excited. And I've seen some very positive things today and a lot of carryover from spring ball. So it's encouraging.
Yeah, I know that, like you mentioned, you've won a lot of football games around here, so last season had to be a little bit of a shock. When you did your off-season self-evaluation, what did you turn up?
Well, you know, Division II is a little bit different animal than a lot of teams that you cover, Phil. You know, the lack of scholarship money at this level, you know, if you have a huge senior class that eats up a ton of money, and we did there for a while, we had a great group that we had invested a lot of money in, and they went back-to-back conference championships. And when that crowd rolled out the door, you know, we didn't have a lot of money to invest, you know, coming back around in the portal. at that particular time. So it was a bit of a down year for us. So we went back out, with that money that came back into the program. And at this level, recruiting kind of goes in cycles when you're dealing with the type of money that we're dealing with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we went back out, made an effort to say, okay, and at the beginning of this thing with the portal, it hurt us. Some of our better players had an opportunity to move on, happy for them. But, man, that's a tough pill to swallow when that thing first came out, right?
Yep.
You know that you lose a couple of All-Americans. They got a great opportunity, but, man, it hurts when that happens. But we said, okay, we're going to make it work for us. So we went out in December and we signed a dozen kids out of the transfer portal. Most of them fall into our recruiting philosophy of spending our money at home in South Carolina. It's a lot of kids that were originally from the state or might be somewhere at a different school in the state but want to change or want to come back home. So we're still recruiting the South Carolina kid. He's just a little older or he might be somewhere else, right? And there was 2 or 3 kids, a kid from Georgia, a kid from here, there. But I think we put a great, really off-season recruiting class in place, the way I'd like to look at it, and brought them in here for spring ball. And I think it's a major shot in the arm for us. Coming out of spring, I was excited, saying, okay, look, I see the talent. In 15 days, I see the possibility of where we can be. And a lot of carryover value to that in day one, that those guys, along with about half a portal class and half a high school class, and that's kind of the way we're looking at doing it going forward, with a few more transfers trickled in with coming in now. Day one looked pretty good for us.
Thumbs up.
So far.
Yeah.
But day one's day one.
Day one.
Everybody's excited on day one.
That's right.
Everybody looks good in a helmet and a jersey.
Well,
day 23, what do you look like there? That's the ticket.
What was it Mike Tyson said? Everybody's got a plan until they hit you in the mouth.
There it is.
Something like that.
That's right.
So, obviously, offense was a big problem last year.
Right.
Very unusual year for you because you had been such a high productive offense. Right. And, of course, you had that run of outstanding quarterbacks.
Yes.
And so, little drop-off there last year, multiple quarterbacks. How are you fixing that situation this year?
Well, we brought a couple of guys in, and, transfer-wise, and Reed Sharpie, that's a Brooklyn Casey product. And there's a family tie here because his grandpa used to be the head coach here years ago. So, I think it was a great fit for Reed. He's a gamer. He's one of these guys when the stakes are high, he's going to make a play for you. He battled really hard in the spring. And then we have another guy, Isaiah Whiteside, transfer in from Norfolk State, but he's an Irmo product. So both kids are from right down the street. I think they're extremely athletic. I think they both have a great mind for the game. They've got a really good arm, and both of them, they can make a play when things break down. And it's kind of Dre Harris-ish. Dre Harris was the benchmark here at the quarterback spot for a long time. And Dre now is in the quarterback room coaching these kids. So I think that's big, that that type of athlete is being coached by the example of what we're looking for here. And those two kids battled in spring, and it was close. I think if we had to start the day, the Whiteside kid would probably get the nod. But what we did differently in the spring, and I've never done this before, was on our scrimmage days, we usually have a different color jersey where the quarterback, you don't touch him, but we made them live. And I told them both, I said, look, guys, I'm not trying to beat you up. I'm just trying to figure out when the bullets are flying, who can make a play.
Sure.
And both of those kids made plays, and I feel confident that they can do that for us going forward this fall.
Yeah, and when you were winning championships, you're at your best, it seemed like you always had that breakaway speed guy, either at running back or wide receiver. Will you have that this year?
I think we will. I think, when the portal hurt us and we lost a great tailback, and then, Dre Harris graduated and played in Germany for a while, and we were looking to fill those spots, and it's hard to fill a spot, with an All-American tailback and a turnaround season. I think we've done that, and I think we've got a combination of about 3 or 4 backs that I feel really good with right now. Some are big, strong, powerful kids. Some are speed kids. And I think blending that together, and just continuing to pound people and pound the rock, because that's who we are.
Yeah.
We're a power-run football team that with an athletic quarterback can make plays. I used to say that all the time, and then couldn't say it last year, but I think we're back to who we really are now.
Defense wasn't terrible last year.
No, not at all.
Defense kept you in some ball games.
I think so, and we've got a lot of kids back on the defensive side of the ball, and I think we've plugged in a couple of transfers that'll help us, especially in the secondary. And I think that defensively we're going to be just as strong, if not better, this upcoming year because, a lot of kids are back. We've got a heavy senior class on that side of the ball.
Opening up at home against Valdosta State. Always a fun matchup with those guys. I think you have 7 home games this year.
I think that might be the first time in the history of the program that we've had 7 home ball games. So a great schedule. Opening up with Valdosta. We've done this a time or two over the years, Phil. I can remember when they were defending national champions and we opened up with them and nobody gave us a shot and we beat them. And then, they had come up here a year or two later and they beat us. So it's kind of gone back and forth. They're a really good program. I think, everybody's aware of that. And we understand the challenge that's ahead of us. And I think the longer we go into camp, that's something that I'm going to address more and more. I think the kids, it's already in their heads, that kind of thing. Right now, I'm just trying to focus on today, and tomorrow, getting better at the little things every day, trying to lead up to Valdosta.
Sure. So a few years ago, you got your end zone building. Now you've got your office building, and there's plans to redo the far side from here with a new press box and stuff. So how excited are you about the future here?
I think it's set. It's in place. The end zone complex is beautiful. It's really helped us from a strength standpoint. Beautiful weight room. The training room is top notch for the kids. This building that we're in, it was big with me, with the administration and the donors and fundraisers and that type of thing. I was saying, listen, if we're going to build something, let's build it for the kids. We need a locker room for the kids. We need this, film rooms, meeting rooms, this type of thing. I said, look, I don't care. I can stay in my old office. It doesn't matter to me. I think they took a little pity on me and gave me a little office over here.
You got an office with a view.
There we go.
Yeah.
And, but now the main thing was for the guys. They deserve it.
Yeah.
This is the best that I think Newberry has ever had in the history of the program. It's part of the golden years. We've won a lot of rings around here, and we've done some things, but we've never had this for the kids.
Yeah,
that's big with me.
Yeah, you deserve it, and I know you're going to bounce back. I have no doubt.
We're going to.
Yes, sir. Great seeing you.
Thank you, my friend.
Appreciate you stopping by and capping your day with us. So I know you still have more to do. Probably got meetings and stuff coming up.
Meetings and conditioning and all kind of things tonight.
That's
fun
right.
stuff.
You
fun
guys
stuff.
are usually running when I'm pulling out of the parking lot, so I'm going to go out and watch you guys.
Come on, jump in there with us.
But it's not so hot today, is it? You got that cloud cover?
It's so crazy with the weather. It goes back and forth.
Yeah.
We were real lucky this morning at practice. It was nice, but, that's not really what you want in camp.
Yeah, you want heat, and you want humidity.
We need it. It's coming back, so it'll be there.
As Sweeney said this week, mo hot, mo better.
No doubt.
You like that?
Yeah.
Mo hot, mo better.
I might write that down.
Thank you for stopping by.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Yeah, man. Good seeing you. Coach Todd Knight from here at Newberry after the break. Colby Taylor, defensive end out of Somerville. James Middleton, offensive lineman out of Fort Dorchester. A couple old high school rivals. Now they're teammates. Of course, James transferred from Southern Miss. We're going to chat with them after this break right here on Sports Talk. Be back in just a moment.
Oh, appliances, we can't live without them, and eventually we have to replace them, but we don't have to pay more for the new ones. Not with Carolina Discount Appliances. Do you want to go and shop at a bunch of retail stores and determine which one has the lowest overpriced item? Me neither. That's why my first call is always Carolina Discount Appliances. The philosophy is simple. No retail prices. None. It might have a scratch or a ding, but overall it's new and will cost you much less than what you're going to pay anywhere else. So if you need a refrigerator, washer, dryer, stove, range, or microwave, they've got you covered. But for less money. Same brands, same appliances, less money. And Carolina Discount Appliances is the home of the $40 down. Take it home today. No credit needed payment options. Regardless, Sherry has you covered. Call today, 803-770-3008. That's 770-3008. No matter where you're located, same number, same person, Sherry at Carolina Discount Appliances, 803-770-3008. It saved me money. It'll do the same for you.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. And the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hosteller Brown. Did you know it's possible to avoid probate court after you die, regardless of what you own? Why put your loved ones through a long, stressful public process when there are better options for your family? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
G3 here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and it's time for a fall preview. That's right, 720 Chris Drive, 378 and I-26, Frontage Road, where you can now preview the best technology for golf known to man. It's the Tsunami Bar. It's live weight. It's the only technology out where you get your tempo and flow going before you play. Now, it also serves as a pattern support tool. 720 Chris Drive, Frontage Road, 378 and I-26. You also can visit the Garage Gym Pro Shop. Pick up your tools, take them home, and while you're here, tour the Scramble Course 6-hole pitch and putt right now.
Well, I tell you what, my man Josh is doing a great job of digging up these fight songs. He found one for PC.
It's going to be hard to beat that one, though, last night. The piano version of the PC fight song.
The piano version of the PC fight song. We had that last night. But now Newberry, we got some horns going on there. And I hear some drums going on there as well. Okay, good job. Real quick, just to be fair and balanced here, Clemson alum Roger Stona set an Olympic record in the discus throw today to win gold at the Olympics. So he had a former Clemson star and a former USC star win gold medals today. Big day for the state. Big day here at Newberry as we got back to practicing football. what they love to do here. We want to welcome in Cole Taylor, defensive end out of Somerville, and James Middleton, offensive lineman from Fort Dorchester. Of course, he's so good they had a high school in Charleston named after him one time, Middleton High School. Is that right, James?
Yes, sir.
Good to have you guys with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Colby, let's start with you. How was practice out there this morning?
We're thankful because usually in South Carolina you'll get some rain for a long time, and then it'll stop, and then it'll be really hot for the next couple of hours. But, we had cloud cover, and it was easy, and I think it's going to be a very good season for us.
Well, you were here last year, so you kind of went through the down campaign. So what is the motivation like, and what have y'all been talking about on how to get you back to where you used to be?
Obviously the motivation is always to win. And going 4-7 last year hurt us a little bit, but the biggest emphasis right now is to compete with each other, to hold each other accountable, and to love each other, man. Because if you don't do those things, then you're not going to win a lot of ball games.
Absolutely. Right. James, welcome to Newberry.
Thank you.
What got you here from Southern Miss?
Just after the season, just looking over things and seeing that I had another year eligibility, so I decided to drop down the level and just come play football, man.
And why Newberry? What was attractive to you when you started looking around to where you might be able to go?
Okay, so I used to attend St. John's High School, and a former player used to go here named Edmund Robinson. So it kind of drew me this way. And then my coach, LaPrade, is close friends with Todd Knight, so it kind of drew me this way.
So you played at St. John's High?
Yes, sir.
On the island?
Mm-hmm.
And then you went to
Fort Dorchester.
Yes, sir. And now Southern Miss and now here.
Yes, sir.
What the experience at Southern Miss, how's that helped you grow as a man and helped you as a football player?
I found God when I was up there at Southern Miss. I had a ministry there named ministry there helping me find my way and stuff like that. So it's been good. Yeah.
How are they using you here? What's their plan for you here?
Put people on the ground.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's good at it.
What position?
Left tackle.
Going to play left tackle?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Colby, the defense, as I was talking to Coach, the defense was not that bad last year.
Mm-hmm.
Had some problems on offense. I know it's a team game.
Absolutely.
You win, you lose as a team. But you had to feel like the defense kind of held its own. Will you be better as a defensive unit this year?
I believe so. Funny enough saying this, I think that winning the sack back-to-back actually kind of hurt us in a way because we stepped into every game thinking, we're the sack champs. People are going to lie down to us, when the fact that it was the opposite. People came out, gave us their best games, and, the defense just let up too many big plays. I remember North Greenville, they scored 14 points in 5 plays, and that's usually not a good recipe for the defense. And then we have a play right here with Carson Newman. I got kicked out. Dude busted it for about 60-something yards on the goal line. So it's just we need to eliminate the big plays because if you take away the big plays in most of the games, you see that, like you said, we're fairly competitive with it, man.
Mm-hmm.
So just eliminate the big plays and don't let egos get in the way. There's a lot of dudes last year who were more interested in their stats and more interested in what they were doing and started pointing fingers at each other. And like I said before, we have to be brothers and we got to love each other even when it gets hard.
Have you cleaned that up?
Yes, sir. So what I've seen so far, I was hurt for a couple of seasons, but I've been here for a very long time. And this spring was the best spring that I've ever seen. And this first day of practice, these first 2 days, everyone loves each other, gives each other some daps, talks a little crap to each other. It's very, very good. We're starting off on a good foot.
James, football's football, but you play the D1 level. Now you're here at the D2 level. What do you, your experiences, what can you share with some of the guys that might help them from what you learned at Southern Miss?
Football is football. It don't matter what level it is. Everybody's going to compete every day. So you just got to come out and give your all every day. So, it's pretty much the same other than the speed and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. What do you see as the strength of your game as a tackle? What makes you a standout player?
He has bare hands, too.
My hands are strong. So the run game is I'm pretty dominant in that. So
if you get your hands on somebody?
Yes, sir.
You can turn them?
Oh, pancake, whatever you need me to do.
Yeah.
How is he? Has he gotten? Of course, you guys are. Well, I guess in the spring. Were you here in the spring?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So did you guys go up against each other some in the spring?
Sir. Absolutely, man.
Yeah. How'd you do?
Great.
Yeah, I think we made each other better, man. Like he said, his hands. I'd be sitting there sometimes in the field trying to get him off. I'm thinking, good Lord, what is happening right now?
You need a few more of these on the offensive line, don't you?
Absolutely, man.
Did you guys play each other in high school?
Yes, sir, we did.
Who won the most?
I transferred my senior year, so I won the last one.
Oh, so you weren't there for the 25-point comeback that we had?
No, I wasn't.
That was a good game, though.
What's that rivalry like between Fort D and Somerville?
Very simple. We hate each other.
For sure.
Very, very simple, man.
Yeah. I mean, just that's it. It's
Yeah, in a sense, it's kind of like the Army, Navy. Of course, we're trying to win every game, but it's like we have to beat Fort Dorchester,
right. And you don't like it when they win, even when they're not playing you. If they beat somebody else, that's a bad day.
Absolutely not, man.
Yeah.
Every time they're playing someone, it could be some school I've never heard of. I'm like, I want them to win.
Guys, good luck to you this season. Appreciate y'all being with us.
Yes, sir.
Have a healthy year.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yes, sir.
All right, Colby Taylor and James Middleton. Back in a moment.
Now on Sports Talk, it's SC Wild with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer is here to take your questions about the great outdoors in South Carolina. Give him a call at 888-898-2525. It's SC Wild from DNR on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
Okay, we shift gears from talking football here at Newberry College for another visit with our good friend Major Billy Downer from the Department of Natural Resources, another edition of SC Wild on Sports Talk. If you have a question, you might have a question about the topic that the Major is going to be discussing here in a moment, having to do with deer season. 800, 888, I'll get my number right, 888-898-2525, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to reach us on Sports Talk and SC Wild tonight. We welcome in Major Downer, and first of all, great to have you with us once again. Let's begin, before you get to your topic, about the weather and the situation around the coastal area and the PD area and that part of the state, and what you guys at DNR have been dealing with, and any words of wisdom that you have for listeners.
Absolutely. So, Phil, the department, along with SLED, the State Law Enforcement Division, Probation, Parole, Pardon Services, the State Highway Patrol, have all been working since Monday with the State Emergency Management Division to prepare for the possible effects from basically Tropical Storm Debbie. Whether it remains at tropical storm strength or just a storm, it is certainly we've already been feeling the effects from the rain, and parts of Charleston have already had over 12 inches of rain for sure. And we all know, if you're from Charleston, you know that an inch of rain downtown floods anyway. So 12 inches is just that much more. Fortunately, we haven't really seen a big storm surge. Tonight, as the storm begins to move back into the state, what we've seen is the storm's going to be hitting a lot of the rain effects going to be more northerly, northeastern from what we'd originally thought. So a lot of rain on the South Carolina, North Carolina coastline. So that's going to put flooding in the Lombard River. And, of course, then we're going to be watching the PD for flooding next week as a result of that. So we'll still be waiting to see kind of what happens there. But that's where we are right now. We've got officers working with Highway Patrol and working with local law enforcement and local EMD officials to prepare for any need that may arise with our boats, that rescues, or just making sure people avoid those water-prone areas. Remember, turn around, don't drown. That's what applies here. If you see water crossing the road, do not assume that you can cross across it. Remember, it may be a foot or 6 inches deep, and then there may be a hole you can't see, and that could sink your whole car. It has happened. People have died in the last, during 15, 16, 17, this happened. So we want to say that. Just please be careful. Stay inside. Again, most county offices are closed tomorrow. A lot of businesses are closing to let the storm pass. We'll see several inches of rain over tonight and tomorrow. Certain areas of the PD, upper PD, are going to see upwards of 15 to 16 inches of rain toward Dillon, Marlboro County, upper Horry County, and into North Carolina, potentially. So that's potential. So we'll see where that lies, but that's kind of where we are. Again, just remember, stay inside, stay off the road, and if you get on the road and you see water crossing the road, turn around. Don't cross that water on that road.
That's great advice. And the other thing, and then we'll get on to the deer business you want to talk about. which is interesting, is that you might get all this rain this week and tomorrow, but in terms of the rivers and the flooding, it could be a few days before that impact hits the state in certain areas where the rivers are swollen.
Absolutely. So because the rain forecast has shifted up to our North Carolina and South Carolina border, you're going to see that Lumber River and into the PD basin there, which that's the concern is how far will that rise? We'll have to wait and see. But we're prepared for that. Everybody's watching that. And, again, it doesn't happen tomorrow. It'll happen over the next few days, and then there'll be a cresting, which is where the water hits the point where it's not going to go any higher, and then you'll start waiting for it to subside. All that, as I learned over the last probably 8 to 10 years, is all part of that PD system, which dumps into the Waccamaw, which is then compounded by tides. And when there's a high tide, every time there's a high tide, that pushes the water backwards. The water can't dump out. So it just slows things down. So it takes time. So we'll be watching this over the next few days. Again, emergency officials are taking a close look at it, and we'll just continue to monitor.
Very good. All right, let's turn things over to you because you have a special guest and a topic you want to discuss. And, again, if you have a question for Major Downer or his guest tonight, phone number 888-898-2525. Major?
All right, thanks, Phil. So tonight we have probably less than 20 minutes to go, but we're going to hit this as much as we can. I've got Jay Cantrell. I want to thank Jay. He's one of our big game project leaders with our department here tonight. We're going to talk about deer tags, and there's been a lot of hubbub about it. A lot of people talking about deer tags because there's some changes this year that aren't as major as it sounds. So our deer tagging process, and Jay, I'm going to bring you in, but our deer tag process is not any different as it has in the past as far as the paper tags. You pay for your tag, you get your big game permit, and you get your tags. And you're going to get a set of 3 buck tags and a set of 2 doe tags. Is that correct, Jay?
That's correct, yes.
And those tags are the same as they've been. That comes with your big game permit. That's free. If you buy additional buck tags, those are restricted tags, antler tags, which are the same, 4 on one side or 12 inches inside. And you can buy additional doe tags. Again, it depends on your game zone when that opens up. But those tags will still be required to be placed on the deer around the back of the leg through generally the hock back there on the elbow. The hock there through around the tendon is where generally people put those. But in addition to that this year, we now have an electronic reporting requirement. And that's really easy. It goes through our South Carolina Go Outdoors app that you've heard me talk about for the last 2 years. Jay, let's talk about that for a minute. What do you think is, as far as that reporting app, let's go through the rules on that real quick, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, and this will be familiar to some of our folks that are turkey hunters because it's essentially the same system that's been in place for a little while for turkey hunting and for the last year or two for bear hunters. So it's not a new system per se, but it's new to deer hunters. But yeah, the requirements, and this is in law, is that you have to report your deer harvest by midnight on the day of the harvest, or sooner if you're taking it to a deer processor, which a lot of hunters do. But you either have to report it before you leave it with a processor, or by midnight of the day of harvest. And when you get finished with your reporting, you get a confirmation number. And that confirmation number you would have to give to the deer processor if you're dropping it off, and they just record that with whatever other information they take down from hunters, name and phone number and whatnot. So that's the requirements, and it's for every deer that gets harvested, either with personal tags, which most hunters are using, which you kind of alluded to, what we call the base set that residents get for free with their big game permit and hunting license, or the individually purchased extra tags or individual purchase tags that non-residents get. But and then there's also reporting for what we call our deer quota program, our DQP, which some people call property tags or doe tags. It's a program that's been in place for decades, where tags are issued to a property instead of an individual. But those have to be reported as well. We can get into this in a minute, but there's a slightly different path to get into that reporting process. But all the gist is all deer have to be reported now. All hunters will get a confirmation number that when that report is complete, and that's kind of the requirements. And then we can talk about the methods and how you do it. If you want to get into that now.
Absolutely. So folks just join us in. We're talking about deer tags, deer harvest reporting this year. Simply, it's going to still be the paper tags. Still required to put those put those on the deer at the point of kill before you transport it. It's basically a transportation tag. And once you get to the processor, that tag's not required. It's required between the point of kill and the processor. Once the deer is being processed, or it does not have to be tagged anymore. So those are things to think about. So now, in addition to tagging the deer, we're asking that you would report electronically, and it's on the, again, Go Outdoors SC app. If you haven't got that app, go to your app store on your phone. Doesn't matter if you've got an Android or iPhone, and look for Go Outdoors SC. It's simple. You can load your license information on there. My daughter was asking me tonight, and I'll remind folks, this is your license now. As long as you've got that license loaded on that phone, you can show your license to an officer on your phone, and that counts. You've got it.
Yep.
Game check is just a simple part of that. There's 4 cubes on there, and one of the cubes says game check. You push game check, and it comes up with says harvest report, and the first line is personal deer tag. You're going to click that, and it's going to ask you what tag you want to use because your phone's actually got it loaded in it. The app loads your tags, those personal tags that you get, the 5 free ones. If you buy extra ones, all those will be listed, and you can choose what tag you're using, and you simply put the tag. You can put like a date of kill, and what else, Jay? As far as information,
it's just some very basic information that it asks for at that point, and it's going to pre-populate the current date. So you got the date of kill, and if you happen to forget and do it the next day, you can change that. But it's the date of kill, the county where you harvested the deer, type of land you're hunting on, either public or private, and if it's public and then it's got the county and those public, it's going to pull up any of the wildlife management areas or other public lands that are in that county. You're going to pick that. You're going to pick the weapon type you harvested the deer with, rifle, bow, shotgun, etc. You're going to pick the type of deer, whether it's an antlered buck, a button buck, or a doe. And then you're going to put in, if it's a buck, number of antler points. And that's all that's required. Then there's a couple optional questions after that on bucks for the inside antler spread measurement or on any deer for the weight of the deer. Again, those are optional for inside antler spread and weight. And on the weight, we don't want anybody guessing or estimating. That's only if you are weighing the deer on a scale. You can put that in there. Same for antler spread, only if you're measuring it. But yeah, it's quick. It takes, if you're using the app, probably 30 to 40 seconds to be done, and then it pops up a confirmation number, and you're good. So we try to encourage people to use the mobile app just because it's the most convenient way to do it. And again, like you said, you've got your license information on there, and there's some other useful information on that app, sunrise, sunset times, and things of that nature. So it's handy to have for a lot of purposes, but it makes harvest reporting super simple. But knowing that everybody doesn't have a smartphone or doesn't want to use it, there's other methods to report. You can go, if you have a computer, there's a website, the Go Outdoors SC that you can access through our DNR website, or there's a dnr.sc.gov/SC game check that'll take you there. There's a text option and a phone option. And the thing for people to realize too is all this information is included with your deer tags. Most people have gotten their deer tags already. There's a few still trickling out that people will get over the next few days. But when you get your tags, if you've not opened them yet, there's a front and back informational insert in there that's got all this information in there. It's got, how to download the app, all the information you need to report, the website if you want to report online, the phone number if you want to text or use a phone to report. Everything is included in there. So it's in one place and you can keep it with your tags and have all that handy. But we feel like it's a, pretty user-friendly system. We've gotten nothing but positive feedback from turkey hunters over the last couple of years with this system. So, I'm sure it's brand new and we've got a lot of deer hunters and there'll be a few little bumps and hiccups, but I think most people, once they get into it and use it, will find it, convenient and easy and really not a big deal. But it gives us really good information. All
right, so I want to, you're bringing this up again. So this is all we're asking for. Harvest date, county of harvest, weapon type, deer type, and antler points for bucks.
Yep.
That's what we're asking for. It's really not secret. We're not asking for where you shot the deer. We're not asking for a GPS coordinate. And there are states that do this, and this has been concerned. There's no geotagging. Nobody's going to know where you shot your deer. You can wait till you go home to report it. You have till the evening to report it electronically. Now, you cannot move the deer. This is no change from the present. You can't move the deer till you put a physical tag on it. That's the requirement now. And the deer has to be tagged before it can be transported. But you don't have to electronically report it till you get home. And we put the 12 o'clock on there because we all know that sometimes you trail deer and you don't get to them until 10 o'clock at night. So we're trying to give time for people to report that makes it, it keeps it, to the day of the kill, but gives you time to report. So those are the main things. Again, remember, the basic pieces are the date, the county of harvest, the weapon type, the deer type, and antler points. And that's just getting good information. From this, our department, our biologist, Jay, and their team will get so much better information about what our deer take is throughout the year. It's going to be a whole lot better than the surveys because it's actually going to be good data. And like our turkey information, Jay, is it going to be available for people to look at just like the turkeys?
Yeah, that's another good point. It's real-time data, and so that's another feature of the app. You mentioned when you open the app, there's kind of 4 tiles there, and one of them is digital backpack. And when you click that, you'll see an option down at the bottom called Hunter's Toolbox. And hunters will be able to go into the app there and get to the Hunter's Toolbox and see, real-time harvest data. And you can, search it or query it by a specific date or a range of dates or a county or a WMA or statewide, and kind of look at it, do your own little
but it won't tell you the property. Let's be clear. It's not going to tell you what club shot it. It's going to tell you what county.
To the county level. Yeah, it gets down to the county level. But it's good, like I said, up-to-date information on what the harvest looks like at a county level or statewide level. So that's been very attractive for turkey hunters. They've gotten, where they really enjoy looking at that and seeing what the harvest is like. Deer hunters will be the same way to be able to keep up with it. And this is something that, also worth mentioning. Most states have this. We're kind of one of the last states.
This isn't new for sure. Right.
Yeah, and people who hunt out of state are probably familiar with it. But yeah, it's good information for the public. It's good information for us at a detailed scale. Like you said, previously we'd been relying on postseason surveys to get harvest data. This will give us better and finer detail information on harvest and by day of harvest and time of season. So it's good biological data to manage the deer herd. It's good from the enforcement standpoint with your folks for better enforcement of bag limits. And then it's just, something easy for the public to do and participate in managing the deer herd. So we're excited about it. Again, we don't think it's going to be overburdensome, but it's something new. And obviously that always, creates questions and a little bit of curiosity and anxiety with hunters until they see it and use it. But we feel good about it and think it's going to be a success.
Absolutely. So I will say this, folks, if you have questions, please feel free to call in. And if we don't get to questions tonight, we're probably going to talk about deer tags again on our show in 2 weeks. Deer season opens up really in basically a week from now in Game Zone 3. So This is going to be pertinent information coming up pretty quick as far as bucks will be until we get to September 15th when you can start shooting antlerless deer, your does. But one more thing, a few more minutes we got tonight, Jay. Let's talk about the other option. If you're in the DQP, what used to be called the doe quota program, now is the deer quota program, and you have a club that has what we call club tags, or you hunt on a farm that has tags for the farm as far as club tags, a hunt club, whatever. There's a separate way to report that. And even though the club has one person that's in charge of it, and the tags are, basically usually at the clubhouse or wherever for people to take out when they use them, each individual can report their tag through this app. And that's important to realize. When we talked about going to harvest reporting, at the top it says personal deer tag. At the bottom it says deer quota program tag. You touch on that, it's going to ask you for some extra numbers. There's 2 numbers, and they come off of your physical tag. You don't have to come up with them. On your tag, the first number is going to be your county, basically county code. If it's Clarendon, it's going to be 14. And then after that, it's going to be the hunt club number. When you enter that hunt club number, it's going to enter all that into the system. Isn't that correct, Jay?
That's right. Yeah,
and then it's going to ask you the same questions it asks you if it's a personal tag.
That's exactly right. You're going to get the same set of, with the exception of it's not going to ask about public land because all these are used on private properties. But but yeah, it's just looking for that what we call this DQP property ID number, which we've now assigned to all the participating hunt clubs and properties in the DQP program. So that's as opposed to your personal tags, which are tied to you individually and your DNR customer ID. This is tied to the property. So yeah, it's real simple. But yeah, those that number's on every DQP tag. So anybody who's hunting on one of those properties and putting the tag on a deer is going to have that number handy. And
back to what we said, that's not going to put your club on a list that everybody can see. It goes into private. It comes in. It would be reported under the deer tags. People look for by county on private land. That's what it would say.
Yeah.
So I want to say that because so many people are fearful of their club name being put out there or the location of where they're hunting, and that's not the case. If you have DQP, you have to report, and this is an easy way to report on your phone with these 2 extra numbers, your county code and then the number of the club, which is on your tag. But when you tag the deer, look at the numbers and you enter that on the into the phone. Again, it's probably best to do it right there with the deer because if you wait till you come home, well, you might not have a tag with you, might not remember your numbers.
Yeah.
But you do have till 12 o'clock, just like any other tag, to report.
Right.
And that report's for your club.
Yeah, good point you made. That's not publicly available. We talked about that hunter's toolbox, and again, this will just go down to the county level. So people, be able to see how many deer have been harvested in a particular county, but yeah, not on which club or anything of that nature. So there's, behind the scenes, obviously from an administrative standpoint, we'll be able to see that, and we need to see that. But yeah, as far as publicly available data, it just is at the county level. So, but it's a simple process too. Yes, sir.
Yep. I appreciate you being a part tonight. Again, we might invite you back next time, and if we've got questions, Phil, we'll come back to that and answer those questions in the next show for sure, because I know a lot of people do have questions, and I've had a lot of people asking me about the show tonight, what we're going to be talking about. And just remember, again, electronic tagging is going to be required now, and that's reporting done through your phone. You have to use your physical tag still, as always. Once you tag the deer, like you have to before you can transport it, you are required by 12 o'clock that evening to report that deer through your phone is the easiest way. But there are other methods, texting or calling a phone number. Those are all found. When you got your tags, you'll get that information. There's a little information handout with your tags that explains all that. And it's going to ask you very basic questions again. County, you date, county, weapon type, deer type, was a buck or doe or button buck, and the antler points. And that's it. Pretty simple stuff. And it's going to give us really good data in the years to come as we manage our deer herd for the future. But again, Phil, thanks for having us tonight. Again, Jay, thank you for being a part of it.
Absolutely.
Deer season's up in about 7 days, so 8 days from now we're into the season in Game Zone 3, which is Richland County, Orangeburg County, on down to the coastal plain, lower coastal plain. So they'll be getting after it pretty soon.
Hard to believe. Major, thank you so much. Jay, thank you. And Major, will talk to you in a couple of weeks.
I appreciate it. Stay dry.
You too, sir. Thank you. You the same. All right, Major Downer, Jay Cantrell from DNR. Great stuff for you deer hunters out there. I cannot believe another deer season. Of course, I mean, it is tied in with football season. So if football season's here, deer season is not very far behind, and that's the case. It'll be here before you know it. A couple of notes from Larry Williams from Clemson practice today. In green today for the Tigers, Brenning Stool and Denhoff and Cole Turner and Jaden Lucas from what they were able to see at practice. Tomorrow night from Furman. Thanks to Brett Loftus for his help here at Newberry. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.